Hello, hello. Okay, having, having a little bit of trouble with the signal here. I'm going to try and persevere and hopefully we'll be all right. Um, Hi to anyone who has joined so far. So I want to talk about sugar versus fat, and we'll see how the signal holds up, but it should be okay. I mean, it is snowing quite heavily outside. Hi, Carl. Um, but I would still expect that we can get a decent internet signal on here. Um, so I wanted you guys to choose whether it was weight loss or sugar versus fat that we talked about today, because obviously there are crossovers between losing weight and, sorry, signals just waving in and out. Bear with me, and hopefully the signal is going to hold out for me. But apologies if it does fade in and out a little bit. Okay, so sugar versus fat. So for a long time, we've been told that eating saturated fat causes heart disease. The signal's driving me nuts. Okay, that eating saturated fat causes heart disease, clogs your arteries, and this was supported by a number of doctors and researchers since a particularly influential study in the 1960s. Now, what relatively recently came out was that the doctors who participated in that particular study, signal, seriously, the doctors who participated in that study were paid off to say that it was saturated fat which was causing heart disease. And what the study had actually shown is that it was overwhelmingly sugar, because if we think about it, the most cholesterol that you've got in your body is not from the cholesterol that you eat. It's the cholesterol your body makes in response to sugar that you eat. Now, a lot of people don't know this. I mean, I didn't know it before I started learning about nutrition, but your body makes cholesterol in response to you eating sugar. So the more refined sugar and the more white flour and processed foods you have, the more cholesterol your body's going to make, the more chance you have of clogging your arteries. Now, there was another study that was done recently, which was a balance on eating carbs versus less fat, and which of those caused you to lose more weight. Now, with this study, they found that overall it was quite even. So the main thing was people eating less. So, and as long as people ate less, they were better off overall. However, what the study didn't look at, and what I know through my research and my nutrition studies, so I'm studying diploma in nutritional therapy, so I have to research all of this stuff, but I love it anyway. So what we know is that you could lose a similar amount of weight cutting sugar versus cutting fat. Oh, the signal. But what's going on in your body chemistry can be two very different things. So eating more sugar brings your body into a higher inflammation environment. Okay. Now, inflammation is, oh, hello, lovely. Thank you. Hi, Darren. Hi to everyone else that's been joining and dropping off, by the way. Essentially, you want to avoid sugar in order to bring the inflammation in your body down. Now, why is inflammation important? Okay, what are the big things that are going to kill you these days, likely, if you're not in a snowstorm getting hit by a car, which is unfortunately more likely at the moment? Okay, heart disease, stroke, cancer, if I'm not having a brain drain, anyway, these sorts of things, they're caused by in a low inflammation environment, you cannot develop these chronic diseases in your body. In a high inflammation environment, it is highly likely, I think about a 75% chance of developing one of these. So if you bring the inflammation down, you're much better off. Now I can put some research up that backs this up if that's useful to you. More than happy to do so. But in order to keep inflammation low in your body, you want to have, hey Armandas, you want to have low sugar, but also low glycemic load diet. Okay, so it's not just the glycemic index of a food. For something like cooked carrots, it has a high glycemic index, but it has a relatively low glycemic load because you're not actually going to eat that much of the cooked carrots. And the beta carotene is more bioavailable when the carrot is cooked. So if your personal trainer is saying to you, like, don't eat high GI foods, take a look at the glycemic load as well. There's a bit of a misconception around that. But having a low glycemic load diet is quite important because I used to eat a paleo diet. I did that for quite a while. And now most of you will know I'm dairy-free and gluten-free. But I used to be purely paleo. And somehow in the paleo diet, I think sweet potatoes were allowed. Not quite sure how we stretched that, but it was basically low carb, and we were having fats for our energy instead. Now, your body can use fats or even protein for energy. It's a lot harder for it to use protein as energy, or sugar. Sugar is more readily available. Okay, that's the fastest pathway for energy, which is why endurance athletes like Christian Moxon, who I saw popped on, would be using sugar. It's needed during races, more readily available. Your body can use the fats as well. But here's another thing. It will also burn off alcohol first before it gets to anything else. So alcohol, you could say that it's a form of sugar in terms of the way that your body treats it. Very important if you're on a diet to keep your drinking down, because your body has to burn through the alcohol before it burns through the sugar, before it burns through the fats, and then eventually it will get to the fat that you're trying to get rid of from your body. So number one thing to do if you're trying to lose weight is to bring down the alcohol. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because it's still on topic. It's still sugar versus fat. Alcohol is sugar. Okay, so what have we got? Inflammation lowering in our bodies. We do that by reducing the amount of sugar. Now, the type of fat that you have is also key. Okay, it's not to be indiscriminate with your fats. So we are what we eat, but we are what we eat eats. So if you're eating a steak and it's from a grass-fed cow, for example, that's a lot better than having steak from a grain-fed cow. Grain-fed is higher omega-6. Grass-fed is higher omega-3. Higher omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. Higher omega-6 is inflammatory. Your average Western diet, I think, your SAD, the standard American diet, or the BAD, the British average diet, have about 16-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Ideally, you want about 2-to-1. So that means bringing up your omega-3 a lot and bringing your omega-6 down a lot. The same thing with eggs. If you get the omega-3 eggs from Waitrose, it's a source of omega-3. Normal eggs, the chickens are grain-fed, it's a source of omega-6. Things like this can make a huge difference in balancing that ratio and therefore bringing inflammation down in your body. Now, there are other environmental things that can bring inflammation down, but I'm going to focus on the dietary ones since we're doing sugar versus fat. Okay, so types of fats. Sources of omega-3 in general, you've got flaxseed oil for vegetarians and vegans, olive oil, avocado oil, walnuts. They're the only nuts that are omega-3 rather than omega-6. Your other nuts are all omega-6 sources, but they have other fantastic nutrients, so don't just cut out nuts, okay? But for any red meat or for any red meat, to make sure that it's grass-fed. With chicken, it's a little bit harder. There was a fantastic piece of research that came out from one of the world experts on inflammation, and she's from Cyprus. So what she discovered was that in an ancient Cypriot diet, almost everything that they ate was a source of omega-3, because the cows were eating parslane, which is something that Hippocrates used to recommend as a tea for people who had a high inflammation. So Hippocrates was all over this a long time ago, and we're sort of trying to catch up now. But because the cows and the chickens and everything, all the animals were eating parslane, which is it's a green sort of herby grass, and it's extremely high in omega-3. So whenever they had dairy products, they were a source of omega-3, not 6. When they made that into, like a pasta with dairy, this sort of thing, when they ate meat, when they ate eggs, all sources of omega-3 instead of omega-6. So their diet was extremely low inflammation, totally different to what we've got now, because we've got so much grain-fed food. Long story short, you've got to bring your omega-3 up as well as bringing your omega-6 down. So ways that you can bring your omega-3 fatty acids up are by eating the things that I mentioned, so your olive oil, avocado, walnuts, flaxseed oil. Vegetarians and vegans can get Udo's oils. Do not buy the one that says omega-3, 6, and 9. You don't need more 6 and 9. You want to bring your 3s up. So never supplement with omega-6. It's madness. Like someone told me that they had the omega-3, 6, and 9, and they thought that, they were getting a comprehensive source of fats. It's like, nope, you're already getting enough 6 and probably enough 9. Just supplement with omega-3. And by supplementing, I mean in terms of bringing more of it into your diet. You can also have fish oils. I strongly recommend, if you're a person who eats fish, to supplement with fish oils daily. Lost the signal there a second. If you are vegan, then you can get omega-3 capsules, which are completely vegan. It's not hard to get, but you must take this every day, because in your general shopping and in your general lives, you're not going to get anywhere near enough omega-3 fatty acids, which then leads to chronic diseases, which we're all trying to avoid. Alzheimer's was the other one I was trying to think of. So Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease, stroke. Yeah, well, when I say heart disease, I mean cardiovascular disease, clogging of the arteries, this sort of thing. And why is this important? I mean, one of the things that I've noticed in relatives and people close to me is that, unfortunately, the men seem to suffer from heart attacks, and the women, in my experience, a lot of them have suffered from breast cancer or other cancers, and that's just been the way that it's gone with a lot of people that I've known who've been close to me. All of this is so fucking preventable, and I'm gutted that more people aren't thinking about it and trying to do something about it. Like if you've got parents and aunts and uncles who maybe don't know about this kind of thing, get them on some fish oil supplements. Get them eating more healthily, because you're going to prolong their lives, and really, they want to live longer so that they can hang out with you more. It's really important to, yes, Darren, this is true. They are starting to call Alzheimer's. Sorry, lost you there. But it's a very similar issue that we have with Alzheimer's and inflammation. The other issue with Alzheimer's, if you have Alzheimer's, I'm going way off topic here, but if you have Alzheimer's, don't eat don't eat brown rice or brown bread if you have a family history of Alzheimer's, because it aggravates it's more likely to cause your genetic pathways to switch on the Alzheimer's. So you're actually better off with white rice and white bread if you've got a history of Alzheimer's in the family. But I am going a little bit off topic there, so I will sign off for now. Rewatch from the beginning if you missed it. And please, if you've got any questions or you want to see some of the specific research that I've been into in my many hours of study, just pop it down below, and I will catch up with you. Oh, this signal driving me nuts. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Catch you later. Bye.